Okay, I'm going to show you another little helpful feature available in Vue, and that is the show render in background. And a lot of people don't know about this, so that's why I'm going to show this to you now. I'm going to set up just a simple scene really quick, adding a sphere, and we'll just add a cone, just something simple so we can render it quickly and kind of show you an idea of what this feature is all about. Okay, I'm going to add one more sphere. Now let's say we're working with an object and we don't know the exact placement depending on the lighting and things like that. Let's go ahead first before we actually start anything and we'll just go ahead and render this. Set it to final. We'll just render it in the main view and hit render. Won't take very long just because it's a very simple scene, which is kind of the idea. Okay, we'll just wait till it gets up to the top, and now we have our finished render. Now what we want to do is show this render in our background so we can edit our objects and still see what the render looks like. So I'm going to select this first button up here and show last render in back. And now we can see our render that we just rendered, our image that we just rendered in the background. And we can go ahead and select our objects. What we can also do is show only selected objects. I'm going to turn that off, and now we can see all the objects in the scene. We can see the ground plane, we can see the wireframe of everything. But that can be a bit distracting when you're trying to edit specific things. So what we're going to do is turn on Show Only Selected Objects. And now we can see that render and go ahead and edit some of these objects and sort of manipulate them to exactly where we want them to be and still see their placement of where they used to be. So it's not so much about where we want to put it, but where it used to be as well. So that way we can kind of tell. It's nice for animation. You can kind of see where the leg was and how you want to animate if you're doing walking, things like that, or any sort of animation. And of course, it can be a little difficult to find these then if that's not selected, or if you have only show selected objects on. And now I'm going to go ahead and render that once more so we can see the new placement. And we'll just wait for that to get up to the top. Click off, and then it updates automatically. And we can see our new render in the background and go ahead and edit that. Now one thing is, in order for that to update in the background, we do have to be rendering up here and clicking on the render button within the interface and not actually within the viewport. Because if you click on the render within the viewport, it doesn't actually use our aspect ratio for the render, and that is a preview render. Plus when we click off, it changes it completely and it won't render our updated scene. So we need to make sure we're using the top right render button in order to update our objects as we move them. But this is a great technique and just a great tool to use while you're making some rather large scenes and you have a lot of complex maybe trees in there and you want to see sort of where they were before but still kind of edit them, and this is kind of the way to do that. So you can take advantage of this, and what we can also do is adjust the camera. Of course, it might be a little difficult to kind of see what's going on, which is why then you want to show or turn off show only selected objects. That way you can still kind of see our scene, which is sort of a grayed out wireframe while we're showing our previous rendered frame in the background.